Let me in, Coach.
I appreciate you saving me from whatever in the world I was saying to try to intro the drop.
I saw the plane. The engines blew out.
I don't even know what was taking place, but sign and dine is delightful. So would you sign and dine Willie Snead?
He's back. He's back, everybody.
10 catches. PPR machine.
10 for 76. He's owned in about half of leagues, and he gets to play Jacksonville.
Hopefully with Drew Brees, though. If he's out, that changes the equation.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If Drew Brees is in, which I don't know. I think he will be in.
That would be the Luke McCown show, right? Is it Luke McCown or Chase Daniel?
I don't even, or is it?
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Or
Luke
would
McCown.
they even go to the?
Oh no,
the rook,
Luke McCown
Garrett.
is out for the season, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah,
so. They have Garrett Grayson is their rookie. So would they let him take a couple games? I don't know. I'm not sure who they would turn to. At this point.
I was gonna say I think the message there. Yeah, Grayson would be the next in line because McCown's out for the year, and then it's Flynn behind Grayson. So
Matt Flynn.
Yeah,
that guy is like he's a cockroach, man. He will not ever go away.
At the end of the nuclear holocaust, there's nothing around except for Matt Flynn. That's ridiculous. I don't know why I was thinking Chase Daniel either because he's in Kansas City. He used to be there. All right, let's but yeah, you got to monitor Breeze. I wouldn't feel confident streaming Willie Snead unless Breeze was there.
But these are actually important guys for Odell Beckham owners. I mean, if
at the wide receivers.
Yeah, if Willie Snead is available and Drew Brees is going to play, I think Snead is a great option this week.
I'll tell you who my favorite guy is, and it's still Tyler Lockett this week because of his quarterback. You know, there are variables with Willie Snead. Kamar Aiken's another guy on our list, but we don't know if it's going to be Jimmy Clausen or it's going to be Ryan Mallett.
It's just so weird. Why is there even talk of Ryan Mallett? Clausen's been okay.
He was very capable last week. But Tyler Lockett was 5 for 55 and another touchdown. These are all guys in the 50% range of availability on your waiver wire. Another guy, Ted Ginn Jr., 6 for 85, 2 touchdowns again this week.
He is owned in 58% of leagues. And
so would you rather have Lockett or Ginn?
I would go big. I would go big with Ted Ginn.
You feel like that's going bigger?
Yes.
Just because they take more deep shots to him every game?
Yeah, and
both guys have big play potential.
So Ted Ginn is owned in only 58% of leagues. In our league is the 18th ranked wide receiver.
Who's
incredible. Available in almost half of leagues.
And I think you've seen a trend where Cam's relying on him a little bit more. It's not just the deep pass. I mean, both of his touchdowns last week were not bombs. They were, one was in the corner of the end zone, one was like a little screen pass that he ran in. So Rueben Randle's another guy that had a good week again, 4 for 47 and a touchdown. But the big news there is
Beckham.
If Beckham's out, Randle moves up the chain.
Yeah, which is dangerous. It's dangerous.
Because it could be too tempting to.
Well, it could be when Rueben Randle has to shoulder the pressure of that situation in a must-win game against Minnesota, who's a good defense. Then I don't know. There could be problems.
Wouldn't you say that Dwayne Harris would be a benefit there too? I mean,
he could be.
I mean, because Dwayne Harris has had some good games. His shoulder didn't seem to be a problem coming back last week. I kind of like the upside of Harris too because he can break a big play on the kind of play that Odell Beckham Jr. breaks, which is, half the time it's a slant that he takes to the house. So Rueben Randle and Dwayne Harris are guys to keep on your radar at the wide receiver position. Let's move over to running backs. This is a desperate time for running backs for a lot of people. Last week, it's what cost me my matchup. I had lost Rawls and I had lost Jonathan Stewart, and I had to roll other guys out there. Now, I chose Cameron Artis Payne. He's a guy I like this week if Jonathan Stewart's out. Do you like Artis Payne? Do you like an option in Seattle more? Now, obviously, the Falcons are at home taking on Carolina. That would be where Artis Payne is. The Seahawks have the Rams in Seattle.
Yeah, I think I would I would go Michael.
Okay.
Because the Rams are that's tough. The Rams play Seattle tough, but their rushing defense has been just gashed the last few weeks.
So outside of Christine, Michael, and Artis Payne, who are the guys that are more at the top of your list?
I really like Bilal Powell. We had a listener tweet us in some facts. I don't have it right in front of me, but essentially since week 11, Bilal Powell has been the guy, and he's getting more snaps.
He looks good.
He does. Bilal Powell he's an interesting running back because he's always looked good when he's been given an opportunity the last few years. He always ends up being one of these sneaky guys at the end of the year, for PPR especially.
Well, 7 for 54 through the air last week.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And they're playing against New England, and if you're trying to forecast a game flow, you certainly would have to believe that the Patriots will be up and the Jets will be trying to catch up.
All right, now how can you not love Karlos Williams this week? Shady McCoy will be out. Karlos Williams has shown from the beginning of the season that he can get into the end zone and make big plays. I'm a big Karlos Williams fan this week. I know it's Dallas, but I like Karlos Williams.
The question to me is just, will Williams get that workhorse role with Gillislee, who's also been serviceable for Buffalo, and Karlos is still a bit banged up. Now, he came out of the game, and Rex Ryan's comment was simply, he's very, very sore, but he made it through the game.
Right. So they might split a little bit.
That's it's certainly an upside play.
All right, making an appearance at the end of the season.
Choo-choo!
I think it was well-deserved. You could have stepped off the mic a little bit,
No.
All right.
Ameer Abdullah.
9 for 77 and 1. Now, the 1 is also a fumble and a touchdown. 2 for 12 through the air. I mean, always looks like he's a leg tackle away from a home run and always gets tackled by that leg tackle.
If watching Abdullah's touchdown run, his ability to change direction at full speed is incredible. Now, he's been a little rough. I compare him to, I don't know, did you ever see Casey Jr., The Train, when you were young? This is the I Think I Can train.
Oh, okay.
I think I
All
can.
right.
So he's an express, but he's been going up that hill.
For this whole season.
Yeah, for the whole season.
He's just getting to the top.
It's a big mountain. It's a long climb, and he's just getting to the top, and now he's going to go down full speed.
I think going down full speed is pretty much what he did all year. In one matter of speaking. Danny Woodhead, Donald Brown, Alfred Blue. This is the Alfred Blue experience. If you ever seen that at IMAX, this is what it looks like. 1 out of every 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, the projector just breaks down.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. 20 for 107. He got this is why I ran away from Chris Polk and Jonathan Grimes as soon as we heard Alfred Blue was okay. They said he was banged up the game before. I mean, if you have to start a Texans running back,
you got to go.
Say your prayers.
You got to go with Blue again against Tennessee, so it's not terrible for the San Diego guys. I mean, Woodhead is still owned in 80% of leagues, but you could I dropped him. I was at a point in my money league where I had to make a move, and Woodhead was the most expendable running back at the time because he's been awful for a month. Now with Melvin Gordon out, it could be the Woodhead show. Donald Brown was 12 for 90. Remember Donald Brown? That's
I remember
good
Donald
stuff.
Brown.
Now, however,
Donald Brown just reminds me of thinking of how bad Trent Richardson is. Because when you compared the two on the field, you said either one of two things. You either knew that Donald Brown's not that great, or you knew Trent Richardson was that bad. And at the time, I think the league thought Trent Richardson wasn't that bad, and that's why Donald Brown got a contract. So Trent Richardson deserves some credit there.
Yeah, he should send him a sweet
Thank
bouquet.
you note.
A bouquet.
Yeah.
But for Donald Brown, 12 for 90, the Chargers were on the lead for the game.
Yep.
I mean, they were sitting on the lead, so that could be a game flow thing. I would rather play Woodhead, but like I said, he's owned in 80% of leagues. So
it'd be very likely that Brown gets to between the tackles, and Woodhead is involved a little bit more than normal carrying the ball. And then we saw what he could do through the air last week. It's not a stay in the flame situation with Woodhead.
No, he's not even heating up.
No. Well, that was a big strike of a match last week with 4 touchdowns. All right, tight ends. I'm going to pretend I'm a fantasy owner out there, and I am in the title game, and I'm going up against Greg Olsen or Rob Gronkowski or Jordan Reed, and I need to mitigate the damage to my roster. Help me, Mike.
If you have to mitigate and you want to swing for the fences, I'm going to go with Zach Ertz, who was 8 for 78 and 1. We've seen him the last few weeks get more involved in the passing game. He gets to take on Washington. So that's the upside play for me is Zach Ertz. If you need to go huge. If you need to go steady, the guy we were talking about at the beginning, Will Tye, 5 for 43 and a touchdown, only owned in 13% of leagues, playing against Minnesota.
With upside.
With upside because a team that does not have Odell Beckham.
Yep.
Or likely to not have Odell Beckham. And then you also have Zach Miller is a guy we like in Chicago who's been coming on strong with when Martellus Bennett got IR'd. And then the enigma that is Austin Seferian-Jenkins, he could be out there for you still. 3 for 29 and a touchdown.
He does get red zone targets, and so you're really counting on him to catch one of them.
Right.
So that's what it comes down to, but he has upside too. I like those options. Those are okay options if you need to stream a guy, and they're out there. They're all out there. Owned in very few leagues, like Mike said, well tying 13%. So, all right, quarterbacks.
Oh, this is the big one.
I always feel like we should probably just start the next segment of the show because we're dealing with the same topic here of streaming a quarterback. So waiver wire decisions to be made here. There's one guy that really jumps out at the top of the list because of his ownership percentage.
And you have to like it, as you would say.
Full stream ahead.
We will circle back to defense here in a second, but this is our streaming quarterback of the week. This is our joined.
Yes.
Because I didn't – look, this is an important week. I don't want to just throw a name out there. Not that we ever do that, but I don't want to – there's nobody that jumped out at me as another name that I liked as much as this guy, and so I'm jumping on board with you. It's Kirk Cousins.
Set phasers.
Oh, no.
To championship.
Hey.
With Captain Kirk Cousins.
It could happen. He
Absolutely.
is playing very well, 319-4. We have seen this. We talked about this a lot yesterday in the studio off air. Kirk Cousins, his career trajectory looked a lot like it looks right now. And then he had those kind of crumbling games in prime time with the picks and looked like he lost all of his confidence. And all of a sudden, here he is again, a guy who, when he plays well, he plays really well. Jordan Reed is so crucial to his success. Having that option with Jordan Reed around the goal line, Deshaun Jackson downfield, big plays. You don't miss a lot with Kirk Cousins in terms of, weapons and tools and what they want to do with the offense. Not the best running game, but they can get enough done to make it, the play action viable. And he's got the Eagles on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's an A plus B scenario here where Kirk Cousins has been playing well, especially coming off of last week, and the fact that he gets to take on Philadelphia, who their secondary cannot stop anybody. The only thing that can stop a wide receiver against Philadelphia is John Brown-esque drops.
Yeah,
that occurred last week.
And if you're streaming a quarterback and you need to make a decision on a guy, I love it when you get to make a decision on Kirk Cousins, or I know one of the guys that Jason has as his stream of the week is Phillip Rivers this week. So Rivers plays on Thursday, Cousins plays on Saturday. That helps set the table for some of your other decisions. If you've got your quarterback in the books, you know whether you need to play a safer running back or an upside running back.
I feel like Jason's not here for me to chop him down, but Phillip Rivers would be a start of the week. A guy who's owned in 90% of leagues is not really a quarterback streamer.
Right. You're right, but yeah,
come on, Jay,
because people aren't dumping him, is what you're saying.
Jason is sick. I'm gonna give him a pass. That's his vomit talking.
Okay, but it's relevant that he likes him because if people have him on the roster and they're making all right, you have Phillip Rivers on your roster and you got Kirk Cousins on the waiver wire. What do you do?
I'd play Kirk Cousins.
Okay, and he plays on Saturday night, and if he has a big game, maybe you go safer at your running back. You're flipping someone in for Jonathan Stewart. You can play a Cameron Artis Payne. You don't need to look for massive upside. You need to get points. So just a guy we really like. There are other options, though, as streamers that we like a little less, but we want them in your brain in case you're in a deeper league. You're in a league where Kirk Cousins is not available, and you need to look at another streamer.
You're
option.
in two quarterbacks, and you went A.J. McCarron last week because you lost Dalton. I mean, there's scenarios where people need quarterbacks. So Kirk Cousins is at the top of the list. Ryan Fitzpatrick still has to be there. It wasn't the best game last week, but he still was 300 yards and a touchdown. He has to take on New England, which could turn into him having to throw a ton.
Bilal Powell is helping him a lot too.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
the check down, and he's always good to run the ball a little bit.
Teddy Bridgewater. Now, this one I say with some hesitancy because he's coming off a career game. You don't want to chase that level of points. However, they're taking on the Giants, and the Giants' secondary are also very porous and can be beat. And with Adrian Peterson a little bit banged up, maybe you want to take a shot.
Well, and I will
on
say
Teddy.
this: it's not been a it's been a couple of decent weeks for Bridgewater at least. Where he had 330-plus yards
the Cardinal
the week
game,
before in the Cardinal game. And then last week the yardage wasn't quite there, but 4 touchdowns and then 1 on the ground. So not the worst option in the world is the point there. He's no Ryan Mallett.
Ryan Mallett.
Anybody streaming Ryan Mallett this week?
Oh, man.
What about Jay Cutler?
So Jay Cutler last week, 231 yards and 2. He gets to take on Tampa Bay. It's
not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. He's been pretty up and down. And the last guy, I know Andy is not a supporter of this.
I'm not.
And so it's Ryan Tannehill, who's been atrocious. I know he's
nice endorsement as a stream of the week.
But he's been really bad. But he gets to take on the Colts, who have been equally bad on defense. I know
that's fair.
So that's a Hail Mary call if you've ever had one. Is going Ryan Tannehill.
A Tannehill Mary.
Oh, very nice.
Dad jokes. All right. Let's talk about defenses. This is crucial, my friends. Defense.
We need like a dad joke of the show.
Dad joke of the show. Yeah. Houston takes on Tennessee sans Mariota.
Delicious.
Great matchup for Houston. Buffalo takes on Dallas. Dallas has been
no. With Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Kellen Moore made a couple throws that I would have made.
Well,
in the sense that, like, 2 steps backwards, 1.
Kellen Moore has not been given a chance at all, so he's finally getting it. And Kellen Moore has said, "Screw this, I'm going for it."
Yeah,
which is what you need to do.
Well, I think their receivers respect that because they're actually going to get some targets, but that doesn't mean he's not going to throw a couple of interceptions. Potential for a score for the defense.
Yes.
Pittsburgh, gotta love Pittsburgh this week. Probably up there. I mean,
it's either Jimmy Clausen or Ryan Mallett. Either way for Pittsburgh,
and last week Kansas City 2 defensive touchdowns against Baltimore. And Pittsburgh's fighting for their playoff lives. I mean, this is just a perfect matchup for them. Detroit defense takes on the 49ers. The 49ers offense has not been not something that's going to hurt you if you start a defense.
Right, and why I kind of like this matchup a little bit more is it's in Detroit, I believe. Let me verify that it's correct. Yes, it is in Detroit. And while their defense they got a little bit beat up against the Saints, Detroit has been putting up points lately. If they put up points on San Francisco and you put Blaine Gabbert in a situation where he has to keep up, there's going to be turnovers.
If for some reason Andrew Luck and Hasselbeck are both out, I think the Dolphins at home are also a streaming option.
Sure, yeah.
At that defense position. So that does it for the streaming section in our waiver wire segment. Do you have any parting words for the audience before we get ready for the big Megalodon show tomorrow?
So I'll just talk briefly about, I alluded to this, my bad beat yesterday, just so I know there's some Foot Clan members who got the bad beats, and I want to commiserate with you. We already know I got no touchdowns for my League of Record playoffs. This was my big money league. I was the number 1 seed. I had the most points by far scored. I was averaging per week more than 10 points more than the second highest points. I was crushing this league. After losing Le'Veon Bell and Arian Foster, I pieced it together. One of my finest fantasy masterpieces of all time. Last week, or last night, I'm coming into the Monday Night Football game. I'm up 30 because Carson Palmer was a collateral damage of the David Johnson explosion.
You're up 30, and
I'm up 30 with Tim Hightower. The other team has Golden Tate and Brandon Cooks.
Uh-oh.
It did not end well, Foot Clan. It ended in heartbreak and
I can
sadness.
Speak to the fact that Mike was not well last night.
I was watching the game with I got the in-laws in town for a nice Christmas with the kids. I had to leave. I was watching the game with my father-in-law, and I had to leave. I could not be around people. I was so frustrated last night.
It is that level of investment that truly, I think, helps make the show what it is, because we are right there with you. We're not
full tilt.
We're not on some other place at some big network that's concerned about all these other things. We're concerned about fantasy football. That's it,
dude. It was,
and we burned down with you, just like you do, and that you were not happy, man. That cost you some money, and it cost you some. You'd have rather been blown out, right?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that debate, I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
It was.
It's been a tough fantasy playoffs for me. You guys followed my team through the tough start, right? And I said, stay with me. I started 1-4 in our big league, right, where Mike and I had been in the title game against each other 3 years in a row. 1-4 turned into, I think I ended 8-5. Made the playoffs, won my first round playoff matchup over Mike, took on Jason after losing Rawls and Jonathan Stewart. But the injuries beat me up this year, man.
Yep.
And I know most of you out there are saying, well, that's what you get, Reaper. And you'd be right. So thank you for listening to the show. Huge show tomorrow. Big time show.
I got to take like 3 naps.
Don't miss it. No way, man. Adrenaline from that defeat. Oh, wait, that's not adrenaline.
Megalodon revenge.
That's alcohol. No.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.